Hi everyone, Mr. Skinny here again with another Android Netrunner game. I do hope to actually play more games on this channel to, just splatter them in a bit, mix it up, but it's always easy to get into another Netrunner game, so that's what I did today. And I actually joined randomly and ended up finding sojo2600. He actually played, it was a third-person game I commentated on just recently. You should go watch it. It's amazing. I'm going to put a link up in the video right now after I've posted it. It will be there. It's on your screen. It's flashing right now. You should watch that before you watch this, in case I spoil things, which I'm going to do. Here it is. He played very well. He played against a great opponent and won. So that left me feeling very, very intimidated, but I pressed on. I could not show weakness. I said, sure, let's play. So actually, I'm just going to kick this off. So this is obviously a game that was played earlier. And the deal here is he actually said, yeah, I'm going to play that deck that you saw. So I know what's in the deck. Not that that's going to help me a great deal, I'm sure. I actually mulliganed the hand. I had I think I had a couple of agendas, or I had no ice and one agenda or something, so I didn't like it. And this mulligan hand was much better, but... So he's playing that criminal deck that he'd been playing. It was kind of this mix of Anarch and criminal, and it's a very heavy credit denial deck. So he's going to want to keep me poor. Now what I'm playing with actually is, and I can't remember if I've cast a game with this deck, but I really like this one. It was one I found on BoardGameGeek, and I will provide a link to it and credit the the person who came up with it. But it's a heavy upgrades deck. And I've mentioned before, but I really love upgrade cards because they basically are great at decoying from other things. You can put an upgrade out as just a single server, and it could be an agenda, and it forces a run on it. So and they just also have awesome powers. So I really like upgrades, and I don't see them get used that often. So anyway, so you'll see I kicked off this turn. It's a very strange starting turn. I mean, I only had... I had two pieces of ice. I wouldn't have been able to res both. I only have one agenda in my hand. I decided I'm going to protect R&D and let him go after HQ, which might not be the best thing since, of course, he's Gabriel and he wants to run HQ. But I did put an Ash out on HQ, so I figured I'm going to delay at least one run on the server this turn. I wasn't sure. You'll see what else I've got in my hand. I have encryption protocols, which increases the trash cost of all installed cards, and mining, and so I could have put out just a bunch of remotes and maybe distracted from my HQ, but he went after R&D right away, which I like, because I felt good about that. He would have to he'd have to stop the run on that one, and so then he hits HQ. And I'm able to res Ash. And actually I was asking, what do I do here? Because, in the sequence of the game, obviously, the run is considered successful. Then I res... I believe I actually have to res Ash, and then he has to say if he wants to continue the run. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We were just trying to figure out the sequencing. And so we do, and I'll obviously run the trace on Ash. So Ash, basically, I do a trace 4... on him. If I succeed, he can't access any other cards in the server this turn. So it's just a way to delay in one turn. He can then choose to trash Ash, which obviously, you would always do, because otherwise you're stuck in front of the Ash every time. But because he actually had a sure gamble as his first turn, he's got plenty of money, so he's going to easily be able to trash that Ash. So I'll just talk a little bit more about this deck. So it's heavy in upgrades. It's also got mandatory upgrades in it. Aptly synergistic naming there, I suppose. But mandatory upgrades is the 6 difficulty agenda that gives you an extra click if you succeed in scoring it. And so the idea is to really snowball your way to a victory. By having all of these delay upgrades out. Like this deck has Ash in it, it has red herrings. So the idea is you can keep mandatory upgrades out long enough to get the thing scored, and then at that point, once you've got another click, I mean, you're very strong and you can keep pushing your way through. And there's another couple of tricks, but we'll address them when actually I draw them, just so as you can see it as it goes along. So anyway, we're just yabbering away, but he basically he let the Ash trace take effect and trashes it, and then just runs on HQ for his next click. So he sees the Itchy, so I dodged a bullet, 1 in 4 chance there, and he did not find my... Actually, not only did he not find my agenda, he didn't find the other 2 trashable cards, which I didn't want him trashing. So, got incredibly lucky on that one, and then I mandatory joined to another encryption protocol. And that's, as I said, it's... So, because I have these upgrades that you want to trash, having encryption protocols out as well is even better, because it just keeps on stacking the trash cost of all of these upgrades, so it just makes things more and more impenetrable. But that doesn't help me right now, where I've only got a single piece of ice, I don't have the money to res it, and it's not even that particularly exciting ice right now. Itchy, you know, it's better in the later part of the game, like, because all it does is trash programs, which he has none, and it does a very, very weak trace that does some brain damage, but, you know, pulling that weak trace off is pretty unlikely. So what do I do at this point? And you can see I'm saying, I'm thinking, because I can't protect my agenda. I can throw a bunch of stuff out on the board, but he's probably going to trash it all at that point. But, so yeah, I decided to do this, which I don't think was particularly wise. I put the Itchy out, and then I take a credit, so I've got enough to res the Itchy, but kind of, who cares? That Itchy is, it's not, you know, 2 of the subroutines are meaningless to him, and then the other one's a very weak trace that he can break through for 1 credit. So, and then he runs immediately on HQ, and I choose to res. I feel like that was probably the dumbest move of the game, and I do it nice and early. But yeah, it's, you know, it's fine putting it out, you know, remember with HP, because I'm gaining a credit every turn, you really want to be putting these things out even if you don't plan to res them, because you're getting a free install essentially instead of just drawing a credit. So I probably should have just not resed it, let him get into HQ, but I mean, I hated him getting into HQ because all of these cards are trashable. Funnily enough, he actually does drop his clicks. Even though he didn't need to break those subroutines, and I don't know, etiquette-wise, did I need to point that out to him? I guess in a tournament game I probably wouldn't point that out, but you know, friendly game, it's just there's zero reason for him to ditch those clicks to you know, avoid the trash program subroutine. So I mentioned it to him, so he could take it back. And you can see me saying, oh, that was what a terrible ice for me to res. So anyway, so he eludes the last trace, yeah, so he would have taken a tag and a brain damage. I mean, Itchy doesn't even end the run. It's so useless as a sort of as a single ice. It's a good support ice, and certainly later in the game. But yeah, not so great early. So and then, you know, he says that he thought it was a different ice, which is fair. I mean, it's funny, you're watching the game on the cards are served locally, off the local machine, so essentially, I got a really high-res scan of these cards, and so you guys get to see it as well, and it's really good, but like other people might be playing, and they might not even see the cards. They might actually have to hit a pop-up dialogue to read them. So, this is, you know, Fantasy Flight doesn't want folks essentially distributing the public scans of these cards, at least until the cards are a little older. As I've said actually prior, is I think they should allow it entirely, because, you know, I got more addicted to this game by playing it online, and I have bought all the sets, so, you know, it's free marketing for them as well. So anyway, he trashes one of my mining so he found a mining, he didn't get the agenda, so another 1 in 4 chance missed. He's now hitting HQ again, because he knows that he can get through for a single credit. Since I have 0 credits, I can't boost the trace at all. So he gets in, and now he has a 1 in 3 chance, and he does hit the agenda finally, and that's a big 3-pointer. Hate to lose that so early, but yeah. So I'm not sure what I could have done. I mean, you know, the only other thing I could have done is put the agenda out on the table along with 2 other cards. He would have probably run all 3 remotes. I don't think there was a way for me to protect that agenda, to be fair. I just don't think I should have resed Itchy. I should have kept my credits. So now I'm ending up playing a little Jinteki style anyway. I've got, like, you know, what am I going to do? I've got all these cards that, in my hand, they're cheaper to trash than they are out on the table. So I figure, screw it, I'm putting them out on the table. And yeah, you know, and just, if he trashes them, well, at least I've drained him of a few more credits than I would have if he'd have just kept running my HQ. So he runs HQ again, which I think is a little mistake. Again, this is a classic sort of, I think, playing online, you just don't think it's not as obvious. In physical, you could see, oh, I've got no cards in my hand, but in the real game, in the online game, you know, I mean, he'd have to click over on the interface to see if I'm holding any cards. So he runs HQ almost instinctively, I think, and sure, he gets 2 credits for running HQ as part of Gabriel's power, but he does have to pay a credit to get through Itchy, so I mean, he nets a credit for running HQ. Yeah, still no point in doing it. He might as well just like taking a credit as a click. And so I think now he realizes, oh, there's no cards in his hand. Whoops. But what are you gonna do? So finishes that run, and then you know, unfortunately, I can't see his cards to help commentate here. But assuming he's gonna run the remote, so he runs the first remote. So I res the encryption protocol. And then I also res the other encryption protocol. And by the way, he plays really nicely. I'm so happy. Like, every single time he runs a server, he puts up the little alert, I'm about to access, which is the way you're meant to do it. Because the Corp gets an opportunity to react in any way he wants. And a lot of players online, they just don't care, they don't forget, and they just go right in and they do the run, and they don't do all the, I know it slows down the game a bit, but you should ask, do you want to react? And that's one case where I needed to res 2 cards to react, because what I've done is I've made the encryption protocol even more expensive to trash. And he actually chose not to trash it. He has 8 credits, but he chose not to trash it. I think that's actually a big mistake for him. He really needs to get rid of them early while he has the money. And so he runs my third server and sees just yet more economy, or an economy card, and he doesn't trash that either. That is now a 6 trash cost because of the other 2 protocols out. So hence another reason he maybe should have thought about trashing the first protocol when he ran it. So I've got my encryptions, they're up and running, and now I draw another Adonis. And so yeah, I decided, well, I'll put that one out as well. That's also, it's a 5 trash cost, so throw that one out there. It acts as yet another decoy, so he, needs to go looking at it. And so I put it out there and just grab a couple of credits, so I will be able to res an Adonis next turn, assuming nothing else happens. So I've got no cards in my HQ, so I've at least made HQ useless to run for him. So, and he can't hit my R&D right now, so this is good. Like, I mean, right now there is no, he needs to work on his rig. He can't keep pressuring me to get agendas. So he checks out the next card I put out, and I have no further reaction, so he accesses the Adonis, and will again find a 5 trash card, and he chooses not to do it. It's interesting, I have often trashed Adonis even prior to it being rezzed. I know that if you wait for the Corp to res it, then access, you are able to, you've basically made the Corp net loss of 1 credit. But frankly, I'd rather trash now what I've, because you've spent the click now to run it. I would rather do that now than not. So I draw an anonymous tip, an MBN splash card here, which is actually a great card to get while I've got 0 cards in my hand. So I use that, and it lets me draw up 3 cards. It's basically the equivalent of Diesel for the runner. And I draw another damn agenda. And I get 1 more piece of ice. I do get the toll booth. So what to do now? I have a hedge fund that I can't play, so I just take 2 more credits. I decide, okay, I can't, there's no point in putting the toll booth out, it's not going to be able to be rezzed. And he's been running every server I put out, so if I put that agenda out, it's probably going to get hit. So the best place for it right now is in my HQ, even though he, he's probably going to run my HQ, and I just got to hope that the probability is with me. So he draws up a card. He has 6 credits. And yeah, right now, and he put out 2 Armitage co-busting last time, by the way, so he's sitting on all these credits. Interestingly, he plays Account Siphon, which I definitely didn't want to see. I have 5 credits, so he's about to drain all of my accounts. There's his credit denial strategy going. You see, I'm not happy. And I actually am about to run the trace, and then I noticed he said break the trace, so I didn't run it. Yeah, so you can cancel out of that, it's no problem. And so he's going to break it with a click, and he account siphons me, so I lose all those credits again that I've been busily trying to build up. And now, the interesting thing, though, is he's going to take 2 tags, and he only has 1 click left. So he's not going to be able to get rid of both tags, and so I could trash his code busting, which is the best time to do it. Now, of course, because I'm drained of credits, it's a lot harder. You know, I'd have to take two credits. Well, actually, I do get 3 off of Adonis next turn, unless he runs it. So we'll see, but yeah, so there he is. He's got his 10 credits, which actually is 18 now. And he's taken 2 tags. So, high pressure right from the start in this game, and it really, I was on the ropes. I just didn't know, you know, I don't know what to do, and this is how this deck works, is Corp never, ever gets a breath, essentially. So he runs on Adonis. So now that I've net lost 1 credit on it, and he has plenty of money, he pays the 5 cost to trash it. Interesting, he doesn't go after the encryption, sort of bleed them down one at a time. But I mean, he only had 1 click, and he didn't want me to get more money off of Adonis. So he trashes that, cost him 5. And then it's back to me. So I mandatory draw into a mining. I do want money, but I have no way to protect it, and I know he's going to be trashing it. So what to do? What would you do here, folks? Can't use my hedge fund. I've got a freaking 8 cost ice that is going to be useless for a while. What to do? And I've got an agenda I'm desperately trying to protect. So I decide, what do I decide to do? Yeah, I am stuck, as you can see, really thinking hard. And of course he has tags on him too, and you know, do I just take 2 credits and use it to trash some of his thing? So my thinking, I believe, was, you know, he's got 13 credits, those code bustings aren't that useful right now to him. It's not worth it to me to keep myself broke just to kill one of those code busting jobs. So I get a credit for installing the toll booth, even though I can't res it. I might as well start building up essentially my primary remote that I'm going to be using to protect my agendas. And so I get a credit for doing that install anyway, and then I take 2 more credits. Of course, that did reduce the cards in my hand. So once he starts running HQ, as you can see, he does that. I've actually made it easier for him to get an agenda from me. So, you know, it's a tough call if that was the right way to play it. But he goes in, breaks Itchy for a lousy 1 credit, and of course he's gaining 2, so he actually nets 1 on this run. So yeah, he's going to go in. Let's see what he gets with his 1 in 3 chance. I'm hoping he sees the hedge fund, of course, the only thing he can't actually do any damage to. And he sees the mining core. So bye-bye my 2nd mining core. And you know, again, he paid 3 to trash. They would have had to pay. Actually, that is interesting. He paid 3 to trash the mining core. Is that a bug? Or is the mining core 3? I cannot look at the card, unfortunately. I thought the mining core was only 1. Because the encryption protocols only count for installed cards, not for cards out of your hand. I don't know. I'll have to look that up at some point later. He still has 11 credits. I feel like that might be right. I don't know. I feel bad if he did lose more credits than he should have, but nonetheless, nothing to do about it now. This all is in the past. So, yeah, so he's just joking. It's his job to keep me poor. And so he runs HQ again, seeing that I've only got 2 cards in my hand. So here he is with a 50% chance to get at that agenda. A beautiful 3-point agenda. And in fact, yeah, that would be quite brutal for him to get. So the idea with this deck as well, as you will see, is that it's very much it's a high, you know, it's have less agenda cards, higher scoring points, because the idea is you get all these things out on the table, you know, protect them. Now, of course, I draw into yet another executive retreat, another 3-point agenda. I'm in dire straits here. You know, I've now got, so I just draw up cards. I cannot possibly give him such high probability to get at these agendas, so I have to take the risk that I'm gonna, you know, draw not agendas in my hand. And now you notice I draw a research station, a great little card that lets you basically own, basically increase your hand limit by 2, and that's another trick of this this deck. Is the idea is that you keep your HQ protected and just and draw up as higher and you know, and basically protect your agendas in your HQ until you're ready to score them on the table. And so you can do that with the research station. Of course, I'm getting all these things too early when I haven't actually seen enough ice to protect my server. And I think I drew another damn itchy, which is just, as I said, pretty useless right now. So he uses his first click and runs HQ again. So I've managed to reduce the probability of seeing an agenda by, now it's down to 2 in 5 chance, but not great. So what is that, 2 in 5, 40%? Yeah. So yeah. He goes in, and it's costing him a lousy credit each time to get a 40% chance to see an agenda. So yeah, I mean, he's doing all the right things here. So eludes the trace. I have no further reactions. And then he gains his 2 credits back, and he finds the one card I'm happy for him to find, or the hedge fund, of course. But yeah, so he sees another useless itchy. He can't do anything to it. So he has 3 clicks left. What's he going to do? Well, there's nothing really he can do, interesting enough. I mean, he either starts building up his rig more, so he actually starts taking credits from his code-busting jobs. And it's interesting he takes them evenly. I feel like... Well, I guess it just makes each one a less interesting target. So I draw yet another agenda. Find the mandatory upgrades. At least, what I like about mandatory upgrades, bizarrely, even though it's such a high difficulty to score, is at least it's only those 2 points. So if I have to put cards out, and I draw another mandatory upgrades. So I have just, I have an HQ that is weakly protected, and a hand of cards to get. So I draw yet another card. I just can't stand it. So finally draw that, and then I figure, well, I'll install my research station. And that at least, and then I'm going to have to pay the 2 to res it, because otherwise I'm discarding these cards. So I increased my hand size limit. And so what have I given him? He still has now that's a 4 in 7 chance. If I was great at math, divide by 770 or 10, it's about, what, is that 14%? So 4 times 14. I can't. Oh god, mind. I think he's got. It's a little over 50%. Okay, a little over 50% chance he's going to find an agenda again. Despite me having this research station. So he goes in, and again nets a credit on this because it cost him 1 to go in, and he gains 2 back. Thank God he hasn't got his Desperado out yet, which would also give him yet another credit. So in he goes. Does he score a agenda finally? He has slightly over 50% chance to score. Let's see what he does. He does not. He finds a wall of thorns. So, what can I say? I'm a lucky bugger. Feel pretty lucky. But now the problem is, he can also trash the research station. So he does. He asks me, and actually I didn't look this up, but I'm 99% sure that discards only happen on your turn at the end of your turn. So I don't have to reduce my hand size yet. And I couldn't go look it up on FAQ because I was recording this screen, so it would look quite silly if I'm midstream and have to go all tabbing around. But yeah, like I said, I'm 99% sure of this. I'm sure I'm going to get absolutely trashed in comments if I'm wrong. But I was almost certain that discards happen at the end of your phase, which would make sense since you can hold more cards during your turn, and you have to discard down. So yeah, it makes sense that the discard only occurs at the end of your turn. It's possible it does occur at the end of your opponent's turn as well, I don't know, but my assumption was it doesn't. So right now I'm okay, I don't have to discard anything. So he pops out a Plasqueak Carapace. The only reason I'm glad to see that is that I don't have any sort of Scorched Earth in this deck, so that's fine, it's a wasted card. So I mandatory draw into a hedge fund, and now I'm in, so I have to either get some cards out on the board or discard. And what do I want to discard? I mean, discard the only ice I have and leave all agendas in my hand? No, not really. Now, great, HB's power saves me again because I can put a card out onto the table and get a credit, and that's going to allow me to draw 1 more credit and play a hedge fund, which I believe is what I do. Question is what to put out on the table. So I'm thinking, and like I mentioned, it's better off. I feel like, you know what, this mandatory upgrades is probably not going to get scored. So rather let him get it and score 2 points than put the executive retreat out, which also won't get scored, and then he'd get 3 points. So yeah, so as you can see, I put the card out on the table, grabbed 1 more credit, and then play the hedge fund. Now, the byproduct of that, though, is I've got 9 credits, I'm finally a little richer, and I can actually res that toll booth, so maybe I will be able to stop him going in. I didn't want to count on it, but at the very least, I have the ability to res it. So, yeah, so he runs HQ, and yep, he has a 3 in 5 chance, 60% chance of finding an agenda. He really deserves to find one. I feel bad for him. Let's see if he finds one. So he pays his credit to get through that lousy itchy that's done nothing for me all game. I mean, at the very, I guess, hey, it's made him only gain 1 credit a run instead of 2 credits, so it's done something. It's actually paid for itself by now, even though it's a whopping 5 cost to res. He's actually been paying enough in that, you know, it has paid for itself. So he goes in and he finds he finds the Wall of Thorns again. So yet again misses out on an agenda when he should have won the game already, probably. So he runs on the remote, and I res the toll booth. I figure there's no way for him to get by. It's going to delay him at least a turn if he has any other options. And I do love that the toll booth, I love that he loses 3 credits just for looking at it. He can't get away from it, and you can't get away from it even on later runs on it. So, I mean, the only way to beat that toll booth ability of lose 3 credits when you encounter it is to femme fatale it. So, yeah, so he is stopped from getting in there. But I am now poor again. So, you know, he doesn't feel too bad, probably, knowing that, you know, I'm not going to score this agenda, whatever it is this coming turn. So he just draws a card, and then he makes a run on archives. I'm not sure why he does that. I guess he knew I had to discard a card last turn, did I? I guess I did. So he felt like, well, he was forced into some discards, so maybe he had to throw an agenda in there. I don't know. I mean, he didn't gain anything from running archives otherwise, so yeah. So I draw up a Heimdall, another whopping cost ice there, and still no real... And now I lost all my money again. So, what to do here? Yeah. What would you do? I can't play my hedge fund. So I think what I was thinking about was ditching my Itchy and putting out another ice that I can't res, but it's not like the Itchy was doing a whole lot for me, but I think I decided not to do that because, look, the Itchy is still costing him a credit a turn, better than not costing him nothing. And what am I'm thinking about the encryption protocol, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, so either way, so I'm figuring out where to res it. So I wanna gain a credit, so I throw out this ice, and I just put it over my Adonis. Because, hey, might as well protect the Adonis a little, or make it, make it another thing for him to run at. He knows it's an Adonis there. So like I said, I'm gonna have to discard the card anyway. Might as well install it and gain a credit, and then just gain another couple credits. So fortunately, the toll booth really is the card to stop him from going in at that agenda. He has to do something about his rig. If think about how far in we are. His 10th turn, and he hasn't really had to do anything in terms of building a rig to actually break ice at this point. So he finally gets that going, and as I said, he has a bit of an Anik combo deck here, so he puts his Jin out, and we'll start bringing in some viruses. So, brings in his Data Sucker. And, he's not too rich right now, so always good to see, given how, but, of course he has ways of making money. So he runs HQ again. So, still has that 60% chance to see an agenda. So has to pay that lousy 1. Oh, right. This was a funny moment. He ran HQ and had completely forgot that he would actually trash both his programs. And he said, sorry, I meant to run archives, which I wasn't sure he really did, actually. I mean, because archives only gets him a lousy token on Data Sucker. But, I was a good sport and said, sure you did. You can back away. Because I feel like, in the real game, you would say, okay, I'm going to run HQ, and then you'd see the card and you'd be like, oh, actually, no, of course I'm not running HQ, and then nothing would, happen. I don't know, maybe in the tournament game, you would keep it strict. It's like, you said it, you pointed at it. But yeah, I was joking that, you're so used to Itchy being completely harmless, of course you keep running the thing. So he runs archives instead. and whether he meant to or not, but I think at least he kept to that, and I like I said, I think it's a fair thing to do. I play card and board games very much like if you didn't see something from the opponent or the opponent didn't reveal some piece of information, I'm not that strict about taking back. So he runs archives instead and gets a token on his data sucker. And so I kick off my turn. Let's see what I mandatory draw into. Oh, well, like an anonymous tip, always a great card to see. But at this point, I don't really want a whole lot more cards in my hand. I think, unless there's some kind of... You see, I just don't think there's any cards that really help me in my current situation. So instead, I grab a credit, run hedge fund, so I can get my 9. And then I'm thinking about, I want to install, yet again, so I'll get another credit for installing it. And actually I install it on HQ because HQ's just been too easy to run, and I'm now 75% chance of seeing an agenda when you run it. So I wanted to protect HQ a little more, and I have the credits to res it. So I would probably have him, I would probably res it if he does run. And so actually, notice I use a little of that new ability. I flag my Adonis, because I know I'll forget about it if I don't do it. So I flag the Adonis to flag automatically next turn. Just a nice little addition that DBO, I'm going to make a shout out again. So DB0 is the creator of the Android Netrunner mod. Kelly Elton created Octagon, which actually is the whole overall program. So thank you, DB0. DB0.com. You can go grab the program from there, send any donations to him for his all free work on this. So anyway, he what did he do actually? He I think he just grabbed a bunch of money off of Armitage and some cards. So I used my anonymous tip this turn. So Adonis is pumping in money for me, and yeah, so I wanted to see more cards. So I put out yet another encryption because why not? He hasn't gone after these other ones, and it just keeps on helping. Like I said, it helps that ability once I start putting other upgrades out. So install that, and then I also go ahead and dump an ice, not particularly strong ice on my archives, but I don't want to make it fully easy for him to keep, grabbing data sucker tokens. And, again, just any unresed ice. Unresed ice is almost... It's not as powerful as res dice, obviously, but it gives runner pause, it slows them down. So I love having unres dice out on the board, even if I'm not intending to res it. And you see I drew a couple of Vipers as well, which is the Tracy ice that, it doesn't actually do anything other than it gives you credits and it ends the run, so it's not a trace that gives a tag. So he goes ahead and runs immediately on. He didn't like any new remote server I put out. He was like, I'm checking it out, and you see I'm playing with the arrows here to show, look, that encryption protocol is actually, it's now 4 to trash because of the other encryption protocols. I like thematically, I am so encrypted. My servers just have like layers and layers of encryption on them, AES style. Actually, it can't be AES because I've heard that AES is 256-bit is a very truly hard to crack encryption, and they are relatively easy to crack. Just spend a bit of money on them. But anyway, so he sees that next, another encryption, doesn't trash it. He's got 10 credits, but does not choose to trash. And so I've now, every single card on the board is now +3 to trash. I don't know. He's seen one of my upgrades so far, the Ash. So he's probably thinking, well, I'm not really sure what these encryptions are good. I guess they're protecting his Adonises and that sort of thing, and his mining. And I don't care. I'll just trash them anyway. So he does not trash the encryptions. And instead he uses Jin to go looking for another virus and grabs his Crypsis. So he's brought out his actual icebreaker. Finally, look at this, turn 20 or like 15 for the runner, and he's finally actually got a card that can break ice on the board. And then that's it back to me. So I'm gaining credits steadily. It's good when the Adonis is actually working. And I get more ice, finally, some, the cheaper ice, so it can actually start protecting. And, against Crypsis, what I really want to do is stack ice on one main remote. That's what I want to do, because Crypsis, the weakness of Crypsis is multiple ice, not so much big ice. So as you can see, and I have the money, and I'm thinking, yeah, you know what, I'll do it now while I can get more ice out. So I go ahead and stack another couple, so stack 2 more ice on top of the toll booth, making Crypsis, you know, it's just harder now. I mean, now he's got to burn clicks on putting tokens on Crypsis. So I do that, and then I just grab a credit for my last click. And, yeah. And so back to him. Back to Sojo, what's he gonna do? So, as you can see, if he ran HQ, 75% chance of scoring an agenda. And he has to dump 2 credits on Crypsis, 2 tokens on Crypsis, and then he takes 4 money off of his 2 Armitages and back to me. So, I draw into another, so there, we're at an 80% chance of finding an agenda in HQ. And I have nowhere else to put these agendas. So, I decide to virus scan. I'm like, well, you've just burned 2 clicks on Crypsis. I'm making 3 credits for no clicks right now off my Adonis, so it's the time to do it. I've killed and also he had a token on Data Sucker. So I feel like I've wasted more of his turn than I waste of mine by virus scanning. And what else am I going to do right now when I've got all these cards in my HQ and not a lot else I could do? I guess I could protect HQ more. I could have put the Viper up on it and just had a 100% chance if you break through seeing an agenda. So instead I decided to virus scan and weaken him down. So he has to put 2 more clicks onto Crypsis, and he has an inside job. You know, I'd forgotten about inside job, but you know that's coming. So he goes after HQ. So what am I going to do? I can spend 8 on the Wall of Thorns that he then gets to skip. And then he just hits the lousy Itchy and you know, pay 1. And so I figure, you know what, that's it. Fine, Inside Job is a free hit into my HQ. So obviously, so Inside Job doesn't get rezzed. He gets this Inside Job past Itchy. And there we go. So he has an 80% chance to get an agenda. Does he score one? What do you think, folks? You know what? He does. He does. And actually, he scores the one I'd want him to score, the 2-pointer. So, again, you could say a little unlucky, but hey, at least he scored an agenda finally. So, there he is. He's up to 5 points on the board. I'm at 0. And I just say, oh, inside job. So, yeah, you know, I wanted those credits. I wanted to hold on to them because I'd rather protect my remote over this amount of time. And so I draw a Rotor Turret, essentially worthless. You know, Crypsis breaks it easy. Anything breaks it easy. It's only good, really, in the early game. As a surprise hit, basically. So, I decided it's time to go for it. I've got 17 credits. I advance mandatory 3 times. I do that because I can only, you know, I want it to be that I can then score it next turn. I just feel like I have to do it now. Of course, it does really, it becomes quite a giveaway of a card. Like, why would I put 3 tokens on it? Typically, you would only put enough tokens on it to then have to be able to put 3 on it the following turn and score. And there's not any other 6 difficulty agendas in the game at this point, I think. At least not in HB. So, you know, I feel like I've given away that that's another mandatory. But I just didn't know what else to do. At this point, I have 14 credits. He has 8. He's got his, you know, he would have to spend a whole lot to get through. And, I mean, when else am I going to get to go for it? I'm over, you know, I've still got too many agendas in my hand. I want to create, if anything, more of a decoy, or at least split his energy. So you can see he's conflicted. He doesn't know what to do next. Because he's taking his time on this one. So, yeah, you know, I mean, I've got the money. I've actually got the money at this point to res both ice and still score the agenda next turn. So, you know, I feel like it's time to do it. So he puts out a Crescentus. I really hate that one because, I mean, it's a 1 lousy credit. And actually, it can even be hosted by Jin, funnily enough, because it's not an icebreaker. So it's, you know, he gets to host. It's 1 credit, and as soon as he gets through 1 expensive piece of ice, he then de-reses it, you know, and it's just, so it's very good value. I mean, it's using up a memory, but what does he care? At this point with Jin as well, I mean, it doesn't have memory problems. So I found my first red herrings. So this is part of this. Red herrings, it's such an awesome card. I mean, often it will prevent. Again, it's a delaying card. So you see that he did not go through that turn. So I do get to score my mandatory upgrades. A lot of players will actually say that once you've scored 1 mandatory upgrades, it can be the corpse game, because 4 clicks to the corpse is so powerful. So he was very surprised actually that it was mandatory. So he says, like, I wouldn't have guessed you would pack 2 of those things. Hasn't seen it before. So funnily enough, he's going to be really shocked to see a 3rd mandatory upgrade. So what I end up doing, I score mandatory upgrades, and that immediately gives me a click. And so then I would have had to discard, but I put the red herrings in my HQ. I'd actually like to put it in my remote, because I'm planning to obviously put more agendas into my remote. But I'm worried at this point he is going to run HQ, because obviously the remote now is not a target anymore, and I do have a lot of agendas in my HQ. So I want to put the red herrings in there to at least delay him. I mean, it's gonna, I've got enough to res the Wall of Thorns on the HQ. So it's going to be expensive for him to get through it. So getting the red herrings is going to stop him one turn. Red herrings, by the way, in case you didn't see the card, it makes the runner pay 5 credits to then access an agenda that turn. So usually they won't be able to afford to do that. So then they have to trash the red herring, which actually has, I think it's a 1 cost to trash, but now with my encryption protocol, it's a 4 cost to trash. So sometimes they won't even be able to do it, and then that means they've got to jack out and then get enough credits to deal with the red herrings the following turn. So it's a really powerful card when comboed with encryption protocols. Hence the reason he really shouldn't have let those encryptions stay out. So suddenly I'm feeling a little, I'm not feeling secure, but I'm feeling a momentum shift. I'm feeling like, look, he's got 5 points, but I'm now stronger. I've got money finally. I've got the red herrings protecting my HQ. And I've got a pretty, a decent iced up remote. Obviously, they haven't been rezzed at this point, but, I feel like it can come back to me. I've got 4 clicks a turn. So you can just see how, never give up on the game. So you feel like it's, especially bad starts. I feel like that's kind of par for the course. The runner usually will get the score on you early. But you just can't give in. So anyway, so he oh, that sounds cheesy. Don't give up, never surrender. Anyway, so I get another red herring. So red herrings, there's no limit to the amount of red herrings you can put in a server. So you can even stack them in a remote, for instance, and you have to break through 2 red herrings to get to an agenda. But I decided to split them. I want that red herrings in a remote where, well, 2 things. I want that red herrings in a remote where, I'm going to be putting a lot of agendas over time. And then also, you're not sure what it could be. I've made it so that, well, is there actually an agenda in there or not? But I do put the agenda in there. I decide that, and notice I put the mandatory upgrades. I decide that I would be better off if he does break through. If he has some way of breaking through this, then, and I put the 2 clicks on it to put the pressure on again. I decide if he breaks through, oh well, he'll score 2 points. He won't, actually no, I didn't calculate that right, because 2 points would win him the game. So actually, really, to him, 3 or 2 points is no different. Maybe I should have gone for Executive Retreat. But I think the issue is that with Executive Retreat, you put all the cards back in your hand, back into R&D. I don't know if I want these agendas back in R&D at this point. R&D is not protected. HQ is. So, yeah, and notice he's running R&D. So, actually, I really don't want to run Executive Retreat. I would rather, not have to randomly put things back into R&D and let the agendas go back in there. At this point, I know that there's relatively few agendas. There is about 14, 15 points of agendas out in play at this point, in my hand or in the car on the table. So, there's only really a couple more agendas in the deck at this point, I believe. So he runs R&D and does not find anything. He doesn't trash anything either. And then he has 3 clicks left. Does he go after the remote? That's the big question. We shall see. He only has 5 credits. I'm feeling pretty good. Obviously, he knows that he's got to hit that toll booth. Unless he has a femme fatale. That's 3 credits that toll booth costs him right off the bat, plus whatever it costs to break it. Inside job, obviously, wouldn't be good for me, but, yeah. So once again, he is at, he definitely seems to be at a bit of a dilemma. Really jamming here. Hope you guys like the music choices. It's supposed to be all sort of, as thematically working with, the 80s cyberpunk stuff. But, it's funny because it's not necessarily my best choice of music or my favorite type of music. But it would seem kind of weird playing something outside of the theme of the game. There's a game. I've been playing Star Wars a little. I really, compared to the elegance of Netrunner, it's just I can't get my head around it that well. I barely win it, just like Netrunner. But this is such an elegant game, such a straightforward game compared to some of those other LCGs. Even though I generally enjoy them, but at least then you could play Star Wars music or something. So I might cast one of those actually. Although I've yet to again have a game that's sort of just a nice kind of 30 to 45 minute game. They always tend to go about an hour, which just seems a little tiring for a cast. But yeah. Anyway, so he counts siphons. There's something I didn't see. I didn't think of, and it's like, oh damn, I want those credits. Don't take my credits away. And so, yeah, I don't really have anything to punish tags in this deck, outside of, I can trash that one lousy Armitage again. So, I do res, because, I'm going to lose money anyway. At least that way brings me down to 3 credits, so he's not going to get the full amount he could drain from me, and he's not going to get the full amount he can earn. And the Wall of Thorns causes him to spend money, so why not? Causes him to spend on Crypsis, etc. So, yeah, so he uses his Data Sucker tokens. So now it's going to cost him 3 credits to get to strength, and then 2 credits to break the 2 subroutines. And so he does it, and then of course he has Crescentus, so he de-reses it. So burns a lot of money off of me, and now I still don't have my Wall of Thorns res. Interestingly, I was surprised at this actually. If I remember correctly, he jacks out. I'm not sure why he chooses to do this. Oh, right, well, Itchy, yeah. Forgot about that. So Itchy is actually not that harmless right now. It's got the trash 2 programs, and he doesn't have clicks to break them. So, yeah, he just jacks out of the run. So, he got his Crescentus off. It's interesting why he did a Count Siphon. I'd actually love to hear from him if he... why he chose to do the Siphon that time, if he knew he was going up against the issue, probably. I guess he didn't think the Wall of Thorns wasn't going to be that heavy in ice. Maybe it would have been a cheaper ice to get through, or I wouldn't have rezzed it, because I wanted to keep my remotes protected. Either way, so I've only got 3 credits, so I cannot score mandatory. So, what am I going to do? I want to go ahead and put a card out. I'll earn a credit for it. And yeah, while mandatory, still don't have that well a protected HQ at this point. I can't res Wall of Thorns, although Itchy is pretty strong right now. It's funny, Itchy went from being, useless to being quite strong now that he actually has a lot of programs up. So I'm trying to think of what to put out. I want to earn credits. I don't want to put, I don't want to really overstack anything, but I choose to go ahead and do it. I want to, I don't like him ever knowing every ice that's on a server, so, by doing that, so I have to lose 2 credits there. I didn't want to get rid of the Wall of Thorns, because I felt like, maybe I'll have the money to res it at some point. I'll spend the extra credit now. So I spend the 2 credits, and then I just take 3 credits, which I get to do now, because I have 4 clicks a turn. And so yeah. And Vibe's pretty good. I mean, these are pretty high strength traces, and he has no link at all. Which, and if I'm recalling this deck correctly, I don't think he ever really gets Link. So, yeah. Traces are actually pretty good in this deck. Okay, so he draws a card and finishes off his Armitage Code Busting. So there's 24 credits he got free and clear. And yeah, I got another research station, which I am thinking I want to put out when I can, because I want to just keep stocking cards in that HQ, which makes the HQ makes those agendas more protected, and while I can't get them out on the board. So yeah, so, and you can see how much of a dilemma he feels he's in. I mean, the game, the momentum certainly shifted. I mean, in going from me being constantly pressured to now him feeling very pressured. Like, what do I do with those clicks? Every click is crucial. You are caught with 4 clicks is dangerous. He's got his ice. He's got some money. So yeah. So I say this is hard. You know, it's funny, I do enjoy playing, but damn do I feel. I remember playing this and feeling so like, you know, you get your heart racing a little. It's like, oh, I don't really know if I'm going to win. I feel, I'm scared of anything he's going to do. I don't know exactly what he might choose to do next. I don't know how to protect myself, so, yeah, so, he installs another Jin. I guess he's run out of memory. That's 2 memory. Not sure why he does that, but he installs another Jin and, draws a card. And mandatory join to mining. This is actually perfect in terms of, like, I love mining now, right? Like, I have 4 clicks, and guess what? I actually had the 4 clicks to score mandatory. So I do it. Now I'm down to 1 click. This was actually a very precarious situation to be in. I was desperate to get that mandatory out. I now have 6 clicks a turn, or 5 clicks a turn, which is so perfect for mining because... you know, I'm actually able to spend 3 clicks to get a lot of money, and then I still have 2 clicks left to actually work. So, yeah, mining's perfect right now. Thank God I hadn't lost my 3rd one. But the question is, you know, he says nice, and suddenly realizes the one weakness of his deck is he's not exposing anything. So, you know, if he'd have known there's a mandatory in there, he probably would have pushed harder. So, now I'm deciding what do I do with my last click? I've got no money. So, oh dear, not only do I have no money, I mean, that means I can't res anything on the board anymore, and everything is a lot weaker. So, but what I decided to do is put the mining out, and I do that because, as I said, it's great. You have an upgrade card that now looks like an agenda. And he knows, oh god, he has 5 clicks next turn. He can probably, if he has a 3 difficulty agenda, he can take a credit and then score, you know? So, he is pressured, he must run it. Now, what I don't like is that I'll probably lose my mining and my red herrings out of it, but at least it forces him to start the run and not, you know, just hit my HQ. Now, he only has 2 credits, of course, so, and no way of making money that we know of, so, you know, he's not really in great shape, but, well, that was the thing, because I can't res my ice, he knows now's the time he can go after a server. And so you'll see, so he draws a card, he puts another counter on Crypsis, and he's probably trying to do the math to figure out, like, can I get into this this server? Let's assume he has no ice that he can res with only 2 credits to his name. Can I break through Tollbooth? So we will see. He only has 2 clicks left. So yeah, I'm feeling a bit nervous. And so he has Stim Hack. Something I forgot he had in his deck. But yeah, there he is. This is full Anik kind of combo here. So yeah, I can't res, so I do not res that ice. So he has Stim Hack. So yeah, that's going to get him through Tollbooth pretty easy. I would have loved to been able to res one of these to at least burn more Stim Hack. And he hits Tollbooth, so I force him to play the 3 credits. So that comes off of Stim Hack. And then he is going to have to spend 5... he's going to only spend 6 credits to get through, which he has on his Stim Hack. So that does burn the entire Stim Hack. Look at that, 1 Tollbooth kills the entire Stim Hack. So he's in, and he has 2 credits. And then he has to access each card one at a time, which actually can play a factor here, because he has to, he has to choose what he wants to trash, and he won't have the credits to trash both. And you can only access, the rules are you access one at a time, so you have to fully access, decide if you want to trash before you move to the next one. So he gains a credit for the successful runs. He has 3 credits, and then he targets both. But I quickly point out that you can only target one at a time, so you don't get to choose. Which one you want to trash. So he chooses the new one, and I put it in because I think he knows the red herrings in the other one. Finds the mining. So it would cost him 4 to trash the mining, which he can't do because the Stim Hack has been depleted. So yeah. So then he goes into the red herrings. I think he knew it was red herrings. Maybe he didn't. And it costs 4 to trash the red herrings. He also cannot do it. So notice the encryption protocol. How incredibly important they were in the end to leave out, and they were left out unprotected the whole game. So he says, nicely done. And like I said, I can't be given credit for this deck, but I do love it. I think it's a very, I don't know if it works once the player knows that's the deck you're running, but it really is an interesting style of play that you don't often see, I think, in terms of, just being very much about kind of upgrades to shield. So he just draws a card, and that lets me go in, and so I'm feeling good, but I never feel fully protected. So I res mining, costs me 3 clicks, I get 7 credits, and I still got 2 clicks left. So what to do with the next 2 clicks? That's the big question. I decide I do not want to lose the mining right away. I feel like I need more money. And am I really in much? I don't feel like I'm in that much of a rush, because I have, my HQ also has good protection on it right now. It has a red herrings in it. So I don't think he's going to be able to break it. I mean, even with another stim hack, I don't think he's going to be able to break through on a single run. He's going to drain all his money. So I put the research station into the HQ, feeling that I just drew an anonymous tip. So I'm going to be able to put a bunch of cards in my hand, which is good, because my R&D, again, is the least protected server right now. So I really do want to load up cards into my hand, and hopefully get more agendas in my hand, because I think that's where they're the best protected. So he's probably thinking the same thing. So he inside jobs into R&D. So nothing I can do here. I mean, he really can just win the game right here. So he accesses the card and puts it right back on top. So dodging a bullet, I mean, you can see I haven't got this down. I have 5 clicks a turn. I still have not got this down. Unfortunately, because I don't have any... I mean, a lousy 4 difficulty agenda would actually... I would win the game, probably. Well, no, 4 difficulty agendas don't usually score you 3 points. So, even with 5 clicks, I cannot get an agenda out and score it at the same turn. So... all he does is he's only got 2 credits, and so what can he do? He just draws up, and probably will take a credit, unless he's got something he wants to use. So yeah, he's trying to figure out his last click. And just grabs a credit. So back to me. Very precarious. What do you do here? I really want to run mining one more time. I want to get up enough money to protect myself. So I grab... So I do... Let's see what I do. I think I run the mining. Yeah, I run the mining. And so I'm 16 credits. And, and again, do I want to lose the mining? Do I want to be able to run it yet again before I go in, really load up on money? And I have a bunch of ice in my hand. I could also draw 3 more cards even, but no, so I go ahead and I put ice, and I actually ice up the remote. I am trying to get this remote in just as perfect amount as possible. If he has another inside job, I just don't want him breaking through, because it's really, once that agenda goes out, this remote is the only thing that will matter in the game. And so I put out another ice, and I have to spend 3 credits to do it. So, again, I'm thinking, I've only got that many credits. So what do I do in my last click? So I trash the mining and put it in there. And the problem is actually no. So because it's in there, as long as I have 5 credits next turn, I win the game. So that's what I'm banking on. I win the game next turn. I just have to survive one more turn. So he draws a card. And what's he gonna do? So that's the goal. I need 5 credits. So he runs R&D. Again, doesn't cost him a lot. He's got Data Sucker, and it's a weak ice at this point, and so he gets into R&D. So again, trying to dodge a bullet, and in he goes. And he finds an executive retreat. So he wins the game, and I scream in frustration. And you probably are too, actually, because, I look at this, and I would have to say that, that was... like, really, what should I have done? I mean, I had the anonymous tip. I should have drawn up a bunch of cards, and then I have all this ice, and I have money. Ice up R&D to get that more protected as well, and just take my time and get the agenda out when I'm ready to do it, and my R&D is also protected. You know, I guess it's easy to say that. The problem is that, look, he's criminal. He's probably got a sneak door beta. And so then I'd have to protect my archives as well. Although, you know, that said, even if he gets into the archives easily, there is the red herrings in there. With more cards in there, I've got less chance of the agenda sharing. So, yeah, you know, you can see, he thought he was sure his son, so I'm just showing my cards so you can see, you know, what else was going on. And yeah, so I don't know, what do you think? I'd love to see your comments here. You know, did I blow it? Was you know, allowing the R&D to just be a very easy hit at this point? So you can see, actually, he had, oh, and we go to black, as usual. I love my black screen at the end of my videos. I would like to see what his cards were there. Oh god. Windows Media Player does not like large files. You cannot skip around. It takes forever. Anyway, I think we will end it there anyway. But thank you very much for watching. Yeah, let me know what you think. If I should have... yeah. Oops. Oh my god. Oh! It's horrible. Anyway, so yeah, let me know what you think. Did I play that wrong? Was I just as likely not to win if I had sort of spent the time to ice up R&D? But, you know, then I wouldn't have had enough money to res everything on every server, so who knows what server he would have gone after. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you very much. As always, please like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe to me on YouTube so that you know when new videos are coming out. Follow me on Twitter. I will also beam it out when I play more, when I load up more videos, and I'll talk about random crap probably. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.